Welcome back to the Sycamore Built podcast, where we speak with important figures at Indiana State University and build connections with both students, faculty, staff, and individuals outside the Sycamore community. As always, I'm your host, Connor Brownfield, and today I'm joined by Andrea Angel. Andrea, you're the Vice President of University Advancement, head of the Indiana State University Foundation. Would you tell us a little about how you're involved in the Sycamore community?
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've been with Indiana State since November of 2018, so it's almost 7 years now. And I feel that advancement and alumni are really the heart of the Sycamore community. Everyone that graduates from Indiana State or leaves Indiana State will have a tie back, and hopefully our office helps do that. And we also are really committed to creating a culture on campus of giving back now and supporting other Sycamores now, so that when you graduate, you understand the importance of your alumni association and philanthropy in general.
Absolutely. And how long have you been part of the Sycamore community?
Yeah, so going on 7 years. It's been an amazing journey. I'm originally from Indiana, so this opportunity got me back home because I lived out of state for about 20 years before that.
Sure.
But yeah, so 7 years now.
Fantastic. What are some things that people in the Sycamore community who might not be familiar with the foundation should know about you and what the foundation does?
Yeah, I think a lot of people may have misconceptions about what we do. Our work is really about engaging and connecting. I say we're the connectors because people that we deal with don't necessarily want to talk to me. They want to talk to students, and they want to talk to faculty and staff and deans and the president, and we're able to make those connections. And so when we can bring back alums or potential corporate partners or donors and connect them to what's going on at Indiana State, it gets people really excited and they really want to support what's going on here on campus.
Of course. And obviously, with all the responsibilities that fall under the foundation, there's a lot of different departments and moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give the listeners just a quick overview of what each section of the foundation is and what it does?
Absolutely. So I say the foundation itself is the money part, right? So we have an internal team that is in charge of our processes, our gift reporting, our auditing. We are audited every year by an external partner to make sure we're doing everything as we say we're going to do it. We have money managers that manage the endowment, and those are people that make gifts to the university that will forever be held here. They only give off a certain percentage every year, but the principal of the amount stays to help students in perpetuity. So the foundation is kind of that money side. Advancement work is that external side. That's the forward-facing folks that represent Indiana State in this region and across the country, spreading the good news and the work that's going on here at Indiana State. So I have my internal team, my external team, and then the third side of it is the Alumni Association. So where the external team is out talking to people that could make significant $25,000 gifts and above to the university, the alumni team is really talking to everyone and really just finding a way to keep people connected, keep them excited about what's going on here on campus, and then in the future, they can become those major donors and supporters when their life allows them to do that.
Of course. You've talked about being the connectors, but especially with the alumni outside the university. We are an alumni-centric show, and what does involvement from alumni look like to you?
Well, alumni involvement is so critical, and it's not because of me, but I think how much it can help our students.
Absolutely.
Having an alumni mentor is just a really great opportunity for students, and it may not be, the alumni that's 60 years old and that's the CEO of a company. It may be that 28-year-old alum that is just getting started, but can give that 19-year-old some really good advice when they first leave college, and they may be more relatable too. So I think connecting our students with our alum for those mentorship opportunities is incredibly important. And then also, not just alumni connections, but corporate and community partnerships as well. Our students here, I think, learn a commitment to service very early on, and connecting our alums and our students with service learning opportunities or just ways to give back, I think, is another important thing that we do.
Of course. The university recently had that massive sponsorship from Thompson Thrift.
Yeah.
One of those outside the university connections.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how you go about building those connections with the community and how that helps students build connections in their community as well.
Well, we are fortunate that Paul Thrift and John Thompson, the owners of Thompson Thrift, actually started their company when they were students here. So it's a really cool story. Paul was a business major. John was a construction management major. And they had this idea to really flip houses is how their business started. And they started doing it as college kids. And then it grew and grew and grew. And from there to have almost 1,000 employees and be a completely real estate focused company that does multifamily housing and everything else across the country. So first off, we were lucky they were proud Sycamores, and they were looking at their employees and noticed 15 to 20% of their employees were Indiana State alum, and they were great employees and they wanted more. And so they started out with, how do we create a pipeline of students to know about Thompson Thrift and the opportunities that we can provide them. And really it centered around construction management students. That's the program they wanted to invest in and wanted to grow. And our motto in advancement is joyful giving. So once we listen and know what the donor wants, we try to create a proposal or a plan that makes sure that gift is joyful to the donor and delivers on what exactly they want. So their gift was $1.4 million in scholarships, which is awesome for our students. But also the part that is, I think, even more impactful that I cannot count in my numbers is the $1.5 million they're going to provide in internships, because those are paid directly to the students. They are quite a high wage, actually, for a student internship through the summer. And that should create a pipeline for them of students seeing what Thompson Thrift's all about, a good company to work for, and then hopefully choosing them after graduation.
Well, it sounds like an incredible partnership.
Yeah, it is.
And the foundation is also known for the campaigns that it works on, long-term fundraising. I heard that you recently wrapped up the Be So Bold campaign. Can you tell us a little bit about what that entailed and what it accomplished for the university?
Of course. So when I started almost 7 years ago, it had been over a decade since the university embarked on a capital campaign. And in university fundraising, that's almost unheard of. I always say you're either planning for a campaign, you're in a campaign, or planning for the next campaign. So a 10-year break is a long time. So I knew we needed to get going, and we needed to put something in place that would inspire donors to give back. So before we even started, we did a feasibility study that showed us our donor base was ready to support a campaign like this. And the priorities that came through that feasibility study were student scholarships, experiential learning, faculty support, and athletics. So we based our campaign around those 4 priorities. And I am pleased to say we finished the campaign raising $133 million.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The goal was 100, so we blew through the goal. And, you know, really strong alumni are telling me that's a really fitting total to have Larry Bird's number be the amount that you exceeded the goal by. So I was like, yeah, 33, a little homage to that. But yeah, and what it's done is has doubled the size of our endowment, and we have doubled in 6 years the amount of scholarship support we're providing to the university. So,
well, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's really good.
And you said that you're either in a campaign or you're planning for a campaign. So now that Be So Bold has wrapped up, what campaigns does the foundation have in motion?
You're so smart. You
I tried.
You caught on that right away. So right now, we always plan for our annual Giving Day, Give to Blue Day, which will happen in the spring. But we are already trying to identify the leadership for the next campaign, the donors that didn't have the opportunity to give back and Be So Bold that will be ready for that next campaign.
Sure.
And what new people do we need to bring into the fold? Because the worst thing you can do is hit the same people up over and over and over again. Not that they're not excited to give and joyful to give, but we have to find new people as well. So our team right now has rebuilt. You know, we have a lot of new development directors, and we're trying to tap markets and people that we haven't been to during the Be So Bold campaign to identify where to go next. And I keep calling it the next campaign. We might just call it the next campaign. Who knows? But we'll have a lot of work and prep to do before we embark and announce publicly that's where we're at.
Sure. You also mentioned the annual Give to Blue Day. That's, of course, coming up here in a few months. Can you tell me a little about the importance of Give to Blue Day, what it brings to the university, and what plans are in motion for this year's Give to Blue Day?
So Give to Blue Day is April 15th. For all our business majors out there, that's tax day, so it should be easy to remember. I think we're the only giving day in the country that does tax day, which I think is kind of cool. I'm I'm not worried about that. It's a fun day. It's easy to remember, April 15th. And Give to Blue Day, unlike the campaign that focused on really those big transformational gifts, Give to Blue Day is all about participation. If I could get every student to give $5 or $10, it'd be the most amazing Give to Blue Day that we've ever had, because it's just all about making sure people understand no matter what amount you give, it makes a difference, and it gets you in that habit of understanding it's important to give back to a university that gave so much to me. So what I like to see on Give to Blue Day is student participation and new donor growth. Those are the things I monitor. Yes, we tout that, $1 million was raised or this and that. That's great, but the fact that we had 20% more donors last year than the year before on Give to Blue Day, and most of those were new donors, is the most exciting part about
Absolutely.
Give to Blue Day. Yeah.
We know a lot of the connections that the foundation does is between the Sycamore community and external sources. How does the foundation reach out to students and encourage them to participate in giving back to the university now?
So I think one of the greatest things that was created during the Be So Bold campaign was our student philanthropy organization. The chair of our foundation board, Don Dudonay, who is a 1969 alum, so not a young guy, still acts like a young guy, but he had the idea. His whole mission as chair was to get students involved in philanthropy while they're students, to understand the importance of it, to understand, many of our students do receive scholarships, and to know there is a person behind that scholarship or a family that has made that commitment to give to them, someone that they don't even know. So we created Student Philanthropy, and I love that group. They won the Student Org of the Year a couple years ago, so they're really strong and committed, and their goal is to make sure students understand what that word philanthropy means. I would say when I was in college, I didn't know what that word meant. I didn't understand it. I was just trying to make it. But understanding a culture and why we give back, and that even just a small gift can go a really long way for someone's future.
Of course. The foundation's also involved in community outreach events.
Yes.
Like last week, I was fortunate to participate in the President Scholar Golf Outing
Oh,
happened
yeah.
out at Speedway. Can you tell me a little bit about that event in particular and what it was able to accomplish for student scholars?
So the President Scholars Golf Outing has been going on for 31 years, which is a long time, right? And this year alone, we raised over $115,000 at that event on a one-day golf outing. And all that money goes into the President Scholars Fund. And so that helps our President Scholars study abroad. It helps support scholarships. President Scholars, as you know, have a really good, opportunity here, full ride, travel, housing, all those good things. So those come at a cost, right? So Pres Scholars Golf helps offset some of those costs and engages our donors and community with people like you, the President Scholars, that's who they really want to meet. And I think I was most impressed that day with you and those scholars that were there, not just sitting on a hole and waving, but actually going up to every group, engaging with those donors, talking to them. They're going to remember that. And that's what makes that event different. I play in a lot of golf outings. I played college golf, so golf's kind of my thing. But that one's, I think, better and different because the students are there.
Sure. So you hit one of the best drives that we saw the day on the hole that I was working on.
Okay, thanks.
I was working with a few of your foundation colleagues. Yeah. And they mentioned that you and Jeremiah and the foundation are both avid golfers, said there's a little bit of a rivalry there.
Yeah.
Although they said that you were winning the rivalry by a fair margin. Do you have a favorite course that you've played on?
Oh, good question. So yeah, I'm very competitive. I will not lie. And I don't think competitive is a bad word. Some people would say it is, but I think it's really good to be competitive. My favorite golf course, because I lived in Little Rock, Arkansas for 20 years, is Pleasant Valley Country Club. It hosts a senior tour event or a champions tour event now. It's just beautiful. It's an old style course, tree lined, fast greens. Hard. I like difficult courses. I don't hit it far, but I usually hit it straight. So if it can be more difficult for others to keep it in the fairway, is usually an advantage for me. So that's my favorite course. I do love the Country Club of Terre Haute, though. It's a great little track here in town and a great place to play. So I enjoy it. Just a local course here too.
I also heard that you play some courses in Florida during the foundation's leg there in the winter months.
Yes,
Can you tell me a
yes.
little about some of the trips that the foundation takes and
Yeah.
how they help with that community outreach on
Yeah,
like a
so-
national level?
So students that are listening, if you like to eat really well and travel and play golf, that is part of my job. So that's pretty fun. So we go to Florida for a week in the winter, and what we do is host 5 or 6 different alumni events around the state of Florida. It may come as a surprise, but the 3rd largest population of alums are in Florida. So it's Indiana, Illinois, then Florida. So it's very valuable to spend time there. We travel the state, we host events, and then when we're not hosting events, the president and I do one-on-one donor meetings with donors. Some of those involve playing golf. So the president's also a golfer. He really likes to play. He didn't get to play on his first trip. We took him he was way too busy to do that. But no, I have a couple of board members and major donors to the university that want to play golf while I'm there, and I will always do that. That gives me 4 or 5 hours to talk about Indiana State, and they're captive in an audience there. So I take that when I can have that opportunity.
Absolutely. And what's the next event that the foundation has coming up? There was the golf outing last week.
Yeah.
Florida doesn't happen for a few more months. So is there something that's happening in between?
Yes, so we're excited about homecoming. You know, that's coming up in October, and we play a big part in homecoming. My foundation board and our alumni board come back for homecoming, so we're involved in as many events as we can be in. We help host a spot for the parade. We engage with students. So we're going to try to be as involved in homecoming week as we possibly can. That's a big, exciting one. And then I know Student Philanthropy has some events coming up in the fall. They do their Snowshul event with SGA. We are actually moving our race, that raises funds for campus to the spring week. So we're going to move that into the spring. But this fall keeps us very, very busy. Football season starting. So actually our next event is a tailgate out at the football game for President Society donors. So those are donors that give $1,000 or more annually. We have over 1,300 of those. So we invite them to the football game, talk to the president, come to the game. So that's coming up next week.
Fantastic. And what opportunities are there? You've talked a little bit about today, but what opportunities exist for students to get more involved in what the foundation does and really participate in that process while they're still here at Indiana State?
Well, there's a couple. I'd say one is student philanthropy. That's more of a broad experience to learn more about it and engage other students. If students are interested in a career in this kind of work, I went to college as a marketing major, thought I would go into business-to-business sales, but I found philanthropy because it's a way to use my skills, but to give back in the same way. So for students interested in that kind of work, I would love for them to reach out directly to me and we would plug them in. I would love for them to come on donor visits and see the work that we do and see how we engage with donors and kind of understand the process. I think the keys to be successful from a student side in this, you have to be a strong communicator, a really good writer. We write a lot of proposals and gift agreements and things like that. But I think number one is being a good listener. Because if you're on a donor visit, you want the donor to do the talking, right? Not me like I am today. But we listen, we kind of glean from what they say in areas they may be interested and try to connect those donors in that way. So the more students that would find an interest in this type of work, come to the foundation. We're not far. We're connected to the bookstore. And we would love to give you some opportunities to do that.
You mentioned that each donor has different interests, different areas that they feel passionate about contributing to. What are some areas that you commonly see donors show a lot of interest and support for? So
during the Be So Bold campaign, Bridge the Gap scholarships were very popular. So we found that during that campaign, we had a retention problem with students for financial reasons. So they would get to their junior year or senior year and just not have enough money to continue. They were academically eligible, they wanted to be here, but they needed those funds. So we created a Bridge the Gap scholarship fund that was specifically designed for juniors and seniors to cross the finish line. We raised over $5.5 million in endowed funds during the campaign for that fund. So it was very popular. Those will be here forever. And now what we're doing, we're kind of doing the flip of that. We're working on freshman scholarships. So scholarships for students to choose Indiana State, to make, maybe it'll make that difference, $1,000 or $2,000 offer here. So we're calling that the Sycamore Success Scholarship. So I'm hoping to raise $5 million for that too in the interim, not even in the next campaign, in
Sure.
the interim time. But that's just a really big priority for us right now to grow our enrollment like we've seen this year in the freshman class and just continue that momentum.
Well, thank you again for joining me today, ma'am.
Oh.
I always like to end these interviews by asking, what are you most excited for this year at Indiana State?
So I just am excited what the president has brought to campus with the culture. I think there's a culture of care. There's a culture of connectedness. There's this culture of having a lot of fun while we work really hard. That's always been our motto. We work really hard in the foundation, but we have a lot of fun while we do it. And I just being engaged with our students and knowing that if they're interested in something, they can probably find it here at Indiana State, and just bringing that to our work as well. So I'm excited for that.
Amazing. Well, again, a huge thank you to Vice President Andrea Angel for joining us here on Sycamore Built. And thank you, the listeners in the Sycamore community, for tuning into today's episode. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you again, ma'am.
Thank you so much.